And I think the stream is live at this point. If you guys are wondering why some rando on the internet here is streaming on YouTube, a screenshot of his computer, it's basically because I am lazy as hell and I don't want to make a video and have to sit here and edit the thing. So I mostly, if I'm ever going to stream, I'm only streaming about computer stuff for the most part, right? So that's what I'm streaming right now. So just to go over the setup and what I plan on talking about, I have this little project I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is try to see if I can scale multiple GPUs and have it run a process, right? And I'm sure you can do that now, right? You can buy a bunch of 39Es, 49Es, whatever it is, and be able to do that. But as you know, that's fairly expensive when in fact there's a lot of GPUs out there coming off of data centers that can be used. So I'm going to tell you the setup. I've got an X79 board running an overclocked Xeon, which I've streamed about before. It's water cooled. I have it in a really old case. Well, actually, the motherboard's EATX, but I have it in a really old case because that's the only case I have right now that fits anything this large. I hope you can see the mouse moving around here, but it's a case that's so old, water cooling is not really a thing for it, even in AIO. So what I had to do was, you can't really see it here that well. I wonder if you can zoom it. Yeah, you can sort of zoom it. I had to 3D print this little 140 millimeter fan to a radiator adapter just so I could mount the radiator. And so I've got two intake fans. One does not have one of these little funneling adapters, but the other one does, right? So I'll probably come back to this picture here every now and then. I've got an NVIDIA Tesla in there right now, which it's not plugged in. It's not in the PCIe, probably somewhere in this stream. I'm going to plug it in just so I could show what both of these cards will do at the same time. But it's a mixed environment. I have an AMD RX580 right here, which is what the Aorus is. This guy's an AMD, or NVIDIA, actually. It's hard, though, to get anything to play nicely. However, the NVIDIA card and the AMD card actually play nicely. So we'll see how lucky I get. But yeah, this is an old PC, but I just want to know, can I get both of them to be used at the same time? Because how cool would it be if you could just take, instead of mining, right? Because mining is kind of dead. If you could buy a bunch of old high gigabyte count data center GPUs and use them for something like OpenCL, which is what this guy on Reddit actually made. So there's a guy here on Reddit who has now gone and made himself a program that can use, well, just apply load to multiple GPUs in the system, right? So it's basically that same thread that I've got up there, but maybe it can read a little bit better if I maximize it here. So this guy on Reddit has made little utility, it's command line, it's in CMD, that will load up all the GPUs. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see what it can do. So right now, I've only got one GPU in the system. It's this guy. It's a Gigabyte Aorus. Right? It's Polaris? Yeah, Polaris 20 XTR was released back in April of 2017. It's not a bad card. It served me pretty well. I've got a couple of these RX580s that I've kind of been hoarding so that I have a decent little GPU to use for just booting things up in general. So I've run this program before, okay? And it's great because it's using OpenCL to load up the system and load up the GPUs. Some of the tools I'm using is I'm using Furmark. Furmark's kind of cool because it's got GPU-Z built in, GPU Shark as well, so you can see kind of a lot of the settings that are related to the GPU. I don't game very much, so I didn't play with GPUs very much before. Played with CPUs quite a bit, since way back in the day I played with CPUs, but GPUs are sort of a new thing, and everyone knows all the computing is going to GPU these days, right? So it's good to know how GPUs work. But this RX580, even though it's old, it does OpenCL. It does Vulkan. Too bad it's not doing that little pop-up. OpenCL, right? OpenCL 2.0 is what it says it'll support. Does not do CUDA, because CUDA is NVIDIA. Does direct compute, which direct compute's DirectX, basically, right? Does DirectML, that's if you're doing machine learning. It does OpenGL. OpenGL's mostly for 3D type stuff. Does Vulkan. Vulkan's for games. But in the system right now, it's only an RX580. Okay, so that's what Furmark is seeing. Task Manager is not the most reliable thing in the world, but it will show GPU utilization in Task Manager. I may load up hardware monitor here when we do it. Let's see. I'll just have it running in the background too at the same time, just to see if we have anything good. All right. I'm going to have this guy available in case we need to see these numbers. Oops, maximized too much. So I'm going to toggle between these guys just so that we have it handy. My apologies if it's not something you guys can zoom on, because it is so small to be able to read this data, but I'll try to explain it when we see it. So, God, I hate bloatware. I need to just uninstall that damn program. So this program runs on command prompt, right? So let me minimize some of this stuff. This overclock Xeon doesn't really do AV. I have to look up what Intel says it does for codecs, but it doesn't do AVX2. I think it does. It should do AVX2. It doesn't like it anyways, but he made a version for SSE, which, you know, SSE is like very old instruction set that's out there. You can't just double click the exe here and run it. Otherwise, once it completes, the CMD window goes away, right? So when you look here, you have to call it. And so I'm in the main directory right now for that program. If I just do a dir, shows you that that live GPU is there. So I just call live GPU. Execute the exe. So now it's running. Okay, it's the exe here is going to slow the system down pretty good. I'm doing HDMI capture, so I've got two computers running at the same time. I've got one computer that's just doing the capture, and then the other computer just doing whatever it needs to. So I can actually boot into BIOS on this thing just to see, just so I can show you guys maybe some of the things I need to look at in BIOS. If you look, this thing is hammering the crap out of the GPU right now because the mouse We'll barely even move at this point, right? And hardware info's not even happy enough to want to update anything. It's going to go through a lot of iterations to do these calculations. Okay. I'm not going to let it go through the whole run because the RX580 is pretty slow in terms of processing, just because it's very old. I mean, 6 years is fairly old in computer and internet terms. Oh, what happened? I wonder if the GPU driver crashed. No? It's just hammered, that's all it is. It's so hammered that GPU is so hammered it can't even do its basic job of doing displays. So every time I move the mouse, it's competing at the processor level for even being able to execute the most basic of commands. Alright, hardware info is trying to pull too much out of here. Oh, it's crashed. The hardware's crashed. This is embarrassing on a stream. I mean, thank God I can talk forever. But I'm mostly doing the stream to record it because I'm not going to remember some of this stuff. Like if I look at it, you know, a couple years later or whatever, it's, you know, not going to be something I'm going to remember. I've actually gone back and watched an old stream about how I overclocked 2670 to kind of teach myself how I did it. So streaming is actually kind of useful in that end. Meanwhile, I've got another mouse running here. Let's see if I can pull up what Intel says on a Xeon. Come on, let's minimize this thing. Yeah, I think this driver's crashing. Poor driver. Okay. Sit here and run Xeon 2670 V2. Let's see what Intel says about their Xeon 2670 V2. Let's see what the instruction sets are for it. Yeah, so 2670 V2 is old enough that it does not do AVX2. It actually still only does AVX1 as an instruction set. So this guy's program was meant to do AVX2. So he made a version of it that runs SSE just for the programs that need to use that. So that's what the 26V2 is. It looks like this thing has crashed. So if you look, this is not very accurate. The point of this whole stream isn't to show you what the gigaflop number is, because I kind of have my doubts on how mature this guy's program is. Anyways, it's a script, right? But let's see here what it does. Let's try it again. Lib GPU. So now, Lib GPU's going. and you can see that GPU 0 is going up to 100%, right? There's only one GPU in the system, so man, that driver crashed. Yeah, I loaded the latest Adrenaline drivers from AMD, but and this is, I'm going to send this to the developer here eventually, because you can see here there's no way that this thing does this many gigaflops. Here's the other weird thing is, I don't know if it's the program or if it's the driver, but it's reporting the GPU as an RX580 Ellesmere. This is Polaris, and clearly it's Polaris because GPU-Z says it's Polaris, right? So I don't know, but this driver crashed. That's why it's not too happy. Let's try it again. I just want to show, for the sake of loading up OpenCL processing on the GPU, to show that the GPU will go to 100%, and not just sit here and use the CPU for the work. Well, first off, the CPU, the only CPUs that can really do OpenCL, I think, is at this point is AMD. And so you get a little bit of OpenCL with AMD, but not much. The driver keeps crashing. That's why it's blanking out like that. Yeah, there's no way it does that many gigaflops. So this guy needs to rewrite his program a little bit. But this, yeah, pun intended, this stream might just be a flop in and of itself. It's cool though. No one's watching anyways, so who cares, right? I might reboot this thing. And if you guys are wondering why this screen is so wide, I have a 2560 by 1080 primary display that I use, so that's why it's relatively wide. And the HDMI can only do 1080, right? So 1680, I think, is what it is. So I've got two computers running. On the left hand side, I've got the capture computer actually doing some running here. This is the capture computer right here. And then on this side, which I can't capture the mouse because it's a different computer altogether, is the box I was showing earlier. The other box. Let's see. This thing. I'm gonna reboot this stupid thing, and before I get into it, I'm gonna go into BIOS. Just so that I can make sure that the PCIe settings are right. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The thing's cooking with all the fans. Oops, I need to hit delete. Yes. Come on. Come on. There we go. I am... See? Like I was telling you guys, this thing is a Xeon 2670 V2. It says 2.5 gigahertz, but I've overclocked this bad boy. Let me get out of the main here and go to AI Tweaker. What I think I need to do is, I read somewhere where somebody was talking about PCIe. Spread spectrum on PCIe turned off. I might need to read up about that, because that might be what's giving me trouble here. PCH, SATA. Let's see here. Onboard devices, yeah. Everything is enabled. PCI Express slot configuration. Wait a minute. Oh, that's mostly just for SATA. That's SATA and slot 1. So if you have a hard drive on slot 1, they may not be happy with each other. Let's see here. I don't need a hot plug stuff. 35C is pretty cool. Man, I thought I could edit all the PCIe settings on this thing. So I can change the PCIe 3.0 settings. Because I'm overclocking the PCIe, so technically the GPU may not be happy. It's possible. That might be what part of what's going on. I wonder if I need to update the voltage on the PCH. Huh. It's been a while since I've been in this thing, so I gotta find where the controller is for this thing. I may need a little more help. Actually, this thing doesn't care. It should all be on auto for PCIe slot configuration. Yeah, the PCIe shouldn't care. Should not care at all. Alright, F10 to get out of this guy. It's going to reboot. I'm actually going to turn it off so I can put the other card in here. So, kill the power, plug the other card in, say bye-bye. Alright guys, I'm going to be quiet for a second here because I'm going to get under the table just so I can plug this guy in. Alright, so I am plugging that GPU in here, the Tesla K20 data center GPU. so that we can go ahead and power it up. Shoot. Oh, need a flashlight. Alright. Looks like that thing's just gonna have to power up. The way it is. Shoot. Okay, power this thing back on. I don't think there's any settings. Let me go back into BIOS. See if there's anything in the settings to monitor. That'll tell us exactly what's in and what's not. Huh. CSM is usually something you disable if you're doing stuff with on the B550 AMD stuff. Usually. Monitor. Monitor doesn't really tell me a whole lot here. I need to make this thing 50C. Because if this Tesla GPU gets way too hot, I want that thing coming on. F10. Back to the boot. I'm going to get into Windows, and hopefully the preloaded drivers are going to play nice, and the Adrenaline drivers from AMD are going to continue being booted up. So let's see here. This guy on Reddit. No, yeah, that's this guy. Okay, back on the second computer. Yeah, everything's off again, so I'm gonna have to turn it on to see. Our Radeon RX is still there. Let's pull up FurMark. See what FurMark sees here under GPU Z. Also pull up Device Manager. I wish I was smart enough to have a script so that all of this stuff just would come up. Yeah, it only shows the RX580. Watch. Windows is going to take a little while. It's going to take its sweet little time. And then it's going to recognize the Tesla GPU. Oh, no shit. Actually, so I was running an external power supply for the Tesla, which I forgot to switch on under boot. So now I just booted the Tesla. The Tesla doesn't really care if it's on or not. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. The Tesla does care if it does or doesn't have power. So it's not going to present itself if there is no power to it. Let's see if Windows is going to see it. Let me close this. Let me run GPU Shark again, or GPU Z. Come on, GPU Z. It's actually the Tesla, if I remember it correctly, the Tesla does take a little while to power up. Okay, this is the thing with screwing around with hardware. I'm gonna have to restart this guy for now. Yes, Windows restart anyways. Actually, I didn't realize I had a couple streams that I've done in the past. Yeah, I'm gonna put the camera, or not the camera, but the mic up to the computer. This thing can get kind of loud at times. At times, it's not so bad though. Let's go. Ooh, what was that? Bump, bump, bump. Back on. We're back in. Pull up the tools. Device manager. Firmark. There we go. Tesla K20. Properties. What does it say? Device is working properly. Driver's right. Okay. What does it say about the RX580? Device is working properly. Okay. See if GPU Z can see it. Come on, GPU Z. Get off your ass. Oh, I need to do the processor utilization guy here. RX580, same old stuff. Oh, look at that. Tesla K20. What does it say about Tesla K20? Says that the Tesla K20 only does CUDA. Right? It doesn't read OpenCL through that driver. Huh. I might have to load a different driver on this guy. It does say OpenGL, which makes me wonder if you can put one of these in as a coprocessor if you're running something like SolidWorks or a CAD program. If it plays nice, can you run one of these just as your OpenGL GPU? You know? And just to be fair, guys, you could buy one of these on eBay for $25. Like these things are not very expensive. In fact, just for fun, let's see here. Open up Fleabay. I'm kidding. Totally kidding. eBay. And let's go with Tesla K20x. No, they're not $229, okay? $24.99 our best offer. It's a Kepler drive. It's a Kepler architecture, 6 gigabytes. You can get multiple of them. You know, data centers have hundreds of these things. So you can get them fairly cheap. Some of these guys are smoking crack. Thinking that somebody's... Well, if you're legitimately running a mini little data center, I'm sure you're going to want to buy one that's like... and it's not your money you're spending. I'm sure you don't care. And you're probably going to want to buy something that's a little bit more qualified. I, on the other hand, am wasting my own money to do these fun little side projects. But I have to kind of remind myself that it does say that OpenCL is not working, right, when you run GPU-Z. So maybe I'm using the wrong driver. If I do look up, there we go, NVIDIA Tesla K20XM. 2688 CUDA cores. First gen NVENC, first gen NVDEC. Huh. It does say it does OpenCL 3.0. You know what though? This is the newer one. What I've got is a much older Tesla K20, right? I think I don't trust it because the Tesla K20 that I have is not. There's like a retail version and there's like an OEM version, and I think what I have is an OEM version. That's why the OEM versions were kind of cheaper. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna try to run this command line program. Actually, first, let me run HWinfo, and I want to try not to have too much telemetry going on at the same time, because too much telemetry turns into too much information being asked out of the system all the time. And when it comes to monitoring it, we're not going to see it. So, we don't want the Intel CPU. What we want to see are the two GPUs. Boom. This GPU is the AMD, right? This is what we're seeing. AMD Radeon RX580. The RX580 is showing here too. Second is the Tesla, right here, 37 degrees. You know, it's really odd though, because I might have loaded the wrong driver, because the only thing I'm seeing is the temp for it. Not seeing any GPU utilization, because like if you look at what Furmark says here, it's not even reading it, even though it's playing nice. It's not really seeing it, so I might have to run command line here. Let's see, CD. If you don't know your command line commands, sounds very redundant. CD is change directory. I'm going to change directory to desktop / GPU space SSE, boom, dir lists whatever's in that folder. So now I've got live GPU, which is the exe for this that I need to run. Let's take a look what HWinfo says. GPU utilization on HWinfo right here, 100%. So the RX580 is being used at 100% right now. Meanwhile, the Tesla K20, we cannot tell what's being used in it, because I may have hosed up the drivers. So if I pull up NVIDIA control panel, which is probably is not a good time to be pulling up NVIDIA control panel. It's in the middle of going through some 100% utilization stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I do declare GPU utilization is showing. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. That is a beautiful thing. It probably needs a reboot every goddamn time, but a $25 GPU that is not meant to do any actual work is being used at 100% at the same exact time that we're seeing 100% here out of the RX580. So this is very cool, actually, right? This is a mixed GPU environment, and I'm not the only one. There's guys out there tinkering with this stuff too that are spending way more money. There's a guy that has like two 4090s in a system with a Tesla P40 on top of that. So, you know, what does that guy do? Like, I'm not a computer science guy. I'm just a guy that's been playing with computers for a long time and designing CAD and stuff like that. And so I used to do some simulation for stuff I would design, and so having computing processing power was always been a thing that I like to play with, because you don't want to sit there and do a simulation that takes 8 hours to do. You want to try to iterate and be able to do more simulations and change the thing you design and that sort of thing. But that is very cool that we're getting 100% CPU utilization here. And usually this thing takes a god-awful long while to run, right? Like when I ran it just on the RX580 by itself, this thing took a very long time, because the RX580 by itself is fairly slow to do that kind of calculation and processing. So, I mean, we're at 65 already, right? I thought this was going to take forever, so I might as well just let the stream do its thing. It's cool that the control panel came up, though. I was going to install the Quadro drivers. And if you ever watch the stream and you want to donate an old Quadro to me to play around with for doing this task, I more than welcome it. But yeah, the Tesla K20 here, and sometimes these GPUs don't play nicely. Like I tried putting a 2070 in the system, which is an NVIDIA product, right? But it's a consumer NVIDIA card at the same time as the Tesla, and it didn't like it at all. Like, it was not very happy. I am going to try and see what it'll do here if I install the drivers in a particular order that this guy online. Oops. Yeah, driver just crashed. Yep. Hopefully the developer can watch that for me and he can see. So, at the end of the program, look at that. It sees device 0. That's the RX580, and then also the Tesla K20XM is right here. OpenCL 1.2 CUDA, OpenCL 2.0 on the RX580, because RX580 is newer than the Tesla K20. That's sort of what's cool too, is you're talking about two different CUDA libraries, an old one 1.2 and 2.0, and this little utility that this guy made for benchmarking. To be fair, he made it for benchmarking, is actually able to use it for both pieces of hardware. Now you see that GPU utilization here is 0, right? There's no way I can zoom in on that, right? I wish I could zoom in on it so I can show you guys on the stream. But now it's also at 0 for the Tesla K20. So clearly the program is able to load up and run calculations on mixed GPU environments. So this is a cool program. Imagine for a second that we can take a program like this and somebody would write a utility to, I don't know, whatever the hell you want. Take your game DX11 stream and run it through the multiple GPUs. That's like the promise of what Sly was, right? And everyone's like, oh, Sly sucked. And they don't do Sly anymore because manufacturers want you to spend money on the GPUs so they get the premium out of you, right? They want the guys that have the money to spend the money on a 4090, and everyone else to look like a putz with their, GT 1030 or GTX 770 or whatever the hell it is, that you're stuck with gaming at 5 FPS. I mean, if somebody wrote a utility open source where it would detect what the CUDA or OpenGL calls were in the system and just pushed them to the GPUs, right? Kind of like kind of like multi-threaded on CPU. Like we went through this phase where multi-threaded on CPU was like everything was single-threaded, right? Now it's multi-threaded. I'm gonna make another video to show everybody why more cores for CPU the better. I do video editing, and I have a couple programs that just use cores. That's the only thing it cares about is cores, and it's hammering the crap out of it. Imagine if there was that program, right? This would totally democratize performance. I can go on eBay, just like I am right now, right? Tesla K20, I can get one for 25 bucks. Okay, click on this listing here. Let's see how many. This guy has 3 available, 25 bucks. I mean, this is cool. I can buy 2 or 3 of these. Yeah, the power consumption is going to suck. There's no fan. But if I wanted to, just like guys were mining with GPUs, I could have 3 or 4 of these and have more processing. Let's find an even higher end Tesla. Oops. I'm using Mouse Without Borders. If you guys have never heard of Mouse Without Borders for your computer, it's pretty cool. You can use one keyboard, one mouse for multiple computers. Let's see. Tesla M40. All right. Peep this. Tesla M40. 24 gigabytes. It's not a Kepler anymore. It's a Maxwell core. You can buy an M40 with 24 gigs of RAM, 3.0, PCIe 3.0 by 16. See what's the cheapest, because I'm thinking about getting one of these guys myself. All right, you can get one for 99 bucks. Well, that one's coming from China. You can buy one for 100 bucks. To be fair, 1070 is probably cheaper, right? But I don't know how much more processing a 1070 is going to have. But look at this. I mean, I think this would democratize performance. You know, is that a bad thing? Pfft, not at all. There's a 16 gigabyte though, isn't there? Tesla M40. Let's take a look. There's a 12. I think the 12s are the cheapest. Yeah, dude, look at that. Same processor. Only it's only 12 gigs of VRAM. 60 bucks. Dude. 60 bucks. Run 3 of those bad boys. You know, put them through old water coolers, so you don't have to deal with heating on them. 60 bucks. That's pretty cool. I think that's probably the next one I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy a cheapy M40 with 12 gigs, because the 24 gig ones are just kind of going for too much. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to get next, and just see how many gigaflops that thing can do. So, GPU utilization wise, I just demonstrated it. You can get utilization on 2 GPUs. The only problem I have is, well, I never actually ran that test. So wait a minute. OpenCL, I know that it can sit here and crunch numbers in OpenCL, right? Let me turn off the CMD. I know that both of these drivers are happy. Why technically couldn't I run Resolve right now and output a file? That uses OpenCL for both of them. Let's see what Resolve says. How long has this stream been going for? 50 minutes? Yeah, it's not too bad, right? Come on, Resolve. Get off your tail. Okay. Let's go to preferences. Let's see if Resolve sees both cards. Memory and GPU. It only sees one GPU, which is RX580, right? That's fine. RX580 is kind of a pig. Anyways, but this is a 10-minute video, I believe. I believe this thing's 10 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, 10 minutes. Okay. That should not render very quickly. Let me output this thing. I'm just gonna output this thing to the desktop. Well, no, I'm gonna stick it in the same spot. Right? I was trying to test OpenCL here. Test OpenCL, because I'm cool like that. Okay, there's a location. QuickTime, nope. I want MP4, H.264, those are my only options. Let's do QuickTime. What are my options in QuickTime? I've got H.265, H.264. I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, because there's no AV1 available, because AV1's only available on my other machine, which is using Intel's new A770, relatively new. Actually, I chose OpenCL for this guy, didn't I? I think I'm gonna have to go into preferences here to see if OpenCL shows up. Okay, so memory and GPU. There we go. GPU processing mode. I don't want it in auto. I want it in OpenCL. Okay. Let's do a render. Yeah, it's going to take 10 minutes, right? Turn it off. What are we seeing? Really no GPU utilization here. Just sad. Boo-hoo. It's using just processor. Damn it. Yeah, see. 100% CPU, 4% GPU. Nothing on the K20 either. So, sad as it is, it's doing nothing. Let me kill this. I don't really care for that. Let me go back here to preferences. And I clearly said I want OpenCL for processing. I don't want auto, right? Let me kill Resolve. Open up Resolve again. I actually have another benchmarking program on here that claims to do just OpenCL. We'll see if OpenCL actually is utilized on both GPUs or just one. Shut up, Davinci. I like you, but you are a pain. Let's try this. Yeah. Replace. 10 minutes. Yeah, we're back to 100% utilization. None on the GPUs. Alright, let's kill that job. Let's try it again, actually. Test for OpenCL. We'll try a couple different types here. We got H.264. We'll do an H.265. We'll try MKV, FFV1. Yeah, let's throw that guy in there. FKV, H.265. Let's throw one of those in the queue as well. Now let's go MP4. Nope, chose the wrong one. MP4, H.264. Throw that in the queue. And also throw a 265 in the queue. Alright, we got 7 jobs here right now. Let's see if any of them decide to utilize OpenCL. Not that one. 100% CPU, but nothing. Bye-bye. Yeah, replace. Let's try this guy. Ooh, H.265. Look at that. 62% GPU utilization. So H.265 is a nice little codec. It's going to run things through your GPU and through your CPU. But it's not using this guy at all, even though I specified OpenCL, right? That's why it's only going to take 4 minutes to do H.265 for this guy. I'm going to turn that off. Let's turn this render on. No GPU utilization, all CPU. That's an MKV, FFV. Let's try the H.264 in MKV. H.264 in MKV uses 61% GPU, none of the coprocessor that we've got in there. So, if there was a utility that said, hey, let me take that rendering load and run it through anything that has OpenCL, that'd be pretty slick. Now, try it on, I think this is QuickTime this time. Or no, this is MP4. MP4, H.264, 100% CPU, no GPU. Okay. Last one. H.265. Any bets? Any bets? Any bets? H.265. So H.265 in QuickTime does use the GPU and the CPU at the same time. It does. Huh. One last try here. Yeah, see, this is sort of the problem. Is Resolve does not see the Tesla K20. But you know why it doesn't see the Tesla K20? I just remembered why it doesn't see the Tesla K20. Otherwise, you'd probably see it. So I'll have to order one of these M40s because so this is something you have to pay attention to when you're screwing around. Resolve has a minimum OpenCL version that it needs to do any kind of OpenCL processing. Okay, so the Tesla K20, if we go back here and we pull up I want to do cancel here. This is just kind of a learning thing for everybody here. Let's pull up firmware. This is where I'm sort of screwed on this. But if you look at the Tesla K20, right, and we look it up. Actually, let me pull up GPU-Z again. We do the RX580, which is Polaris. We take the RX580, we look it up too, right? Let's take a look here at some of the specs. The RX580 does DirectX 12, OpenGL 4.6, OpenCL 2.1. It's very important, okay? Let's remember that. Where are those specs again? Graphics features, OpenCL 2.1. Even though we saw that we had OpenCL checked off, right, it was not available in Resolve because it says, we'll see. I'm going to look it up here in a second for Resolve. So OpenCL 2.1, you look at the Tesla K20, this isn't the right one though. It says DirectX 12. There's no way. The one that we're working with is too old. We saw that it said OpenCL 1.2 in the CMD program. Remember? That's what it said when it looked it up. So, well, actually, GPU-Z. Does GPU-Z show it? K20. K20. Let's go to sensors. It does not say. Well, general, let's see. Let's go to OpenCL version. That says not supported. CUDA 3.5. I think there's a minimum there, and I've Googled it before. So I think the reason why we're not seeing it is I think some of the specs are wrong. This is just too old of a GPU graphics accelerator, but something newer like an M40. So if I go here to Tech Power Up, and let's just see if we can find it. Tesla M40 is a Maxwell. Let's see what the OpenCL version is. It says OpenCL 3.0. You just gotta trust it, I guess. Maxwell 2.0. TSMC is 28 nanometer. The K20 is Kepler. That's the previous. Successor's Pascal, so that'd be a P series. Let's see what a P series goes for on eBay. I don't know what the different sizes are on eBay. I think there's only a 24. It's $200 for a P40. Might have to end up buying one eventually. I know this is all for fun, but the newer the generation is, the stuff that you grab in the just absolutely more expensive it gets. And I'm not exactly somebody that has access to a junkyard of computers, so this is out of pocket. But M40 is cheap enough that I can blow a little money on that and try it out. So clearly I demonstrated that this guy's a little program who I'll give credit to. Let's see. Let's give credit to this guy. Thank you very much for writing this little program. 2gruel _ DDR. CUDA coder from Turkey. Love this guy. Thanks for putting that together. It's been very helpful. Just sorry that I have a very old SSE based computer, but I'm gonna send this guy this stream just so you can watch what's going on with this thing. Man, yeah, just imagine if this guy could take his program that he wrote and run and basically pipe OpenCL processing through it, right? That would be very, very cool. Very, very cool. Very, 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 very cool. I think I'm going to kill the stream because I've talked through some of the stuff that I've figured out here, and I showed you guys that it's utilizing that. Oh, last thing. Let me see. I'm going to run this one program, this one benchmarking program, Geekbench. Geekbench 6 has an OpenCL component where it does just OpenCL. Sorry, Geekbench 6. Okay, so OpenCL. Yeah, it only sees the RX580. I swear to God, it was this one that I ran OpenCL on, and I was getting utilization out of the GPU. But I could be wrong. So if you look, 0 utilization in Geekbench. Yeah, but it was up to 100%. It's at 100% right there. So it's using the RX580 in OpenCL, but it is not accessing the K20. And we know that the K20's working just fine. I have another benchmarking program called Nova Bench. Nova Bench. But if you're Scandinavian, it'd say Nova. Shout out to my Swedes. No, not start all benchmark tests. You monkey. Okay, I'm gonna do a compute workload here. It's using the GPU. Boom, Z's. 100%. There you go. It's not using any of the Tesla. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because I don't remember what program that was that I had going where it did that. Where it actually saw the Tesla GPU. It might have been when I put the FX 4600 in and was running it all on the Quadro drivers. I might do that on a separate stream, but I'm gonna have to disable some stuff to make that work. Actually, I learned something on this stream just now. I did. I actually learned something. I learned that one of the challenges that I'm facing right now is that I think that the CUDA version is what's not allowing me to see the K20 and use it as a coprocessor in Davinci Resolve. I think so. I do think so. I mean, this is only running on the RX580, so that's not even that key here. I was hoping that if OpenCL was running and it had 2 NVIDIA GPUs, that it would see it. See, all it sees is the RX580. Which is really odd because I swear to God I was able to run one of these benchmarks and load up the Tesla. I have one last setting to try and resolve, and then I'm going to kill the stream. Let me launch Resolve here. Wait, is Resolve running already? Oops. I feel dumb. Let me see. I wish I was listening to music. But if I put music on right now, I would probably get copyrighted. OpenCL, yes. Close the program, yes. Relaunch the program, yes. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't care about your cache locations. What's kind of cool is I already have all the stuff queued up. So I've got it set to auto. It's still not going to see the damn... I don't know what I'm hoping to accomplish with this, because honestly it still is not going to see the K20 device. It's all CPU. It's H.265 that runs GPU for the most part. It's like running NVENC. Yeah. Replace. There we go. It's an NVENC encoder that's using half CPU, half GPU. GPU's at 60%. Tesla? Nowhere to be found. MIA. MIA. I'm a little bit befuddled here. Stop it. It says manage 3D settings. To manage CUDA settings for specific program, go to the Manage 3D Settings page. That's in Options? No. That's in no. I think that's in Windows. Let's see. That is in Graphics Settings. Davinci Resolve. Options. The only options is the RX580. Right? So I'm running around in circles here. I am. It's time to kill the stream because we figured out a lot of cool stuff. It's almost like this is almost like Back to the Future for me, because I'm gonna come back to this stream in a few years and we'll be like, oh, I don't remember how to do any of this stuff. And I this is gonna be my record. All right, guys. Thanks if you ever watch this video. I know on the other stream for overclocking the 2670 V2, some of you enjoyed it and was able to learn from it. I hope you learned something from this one. Good night.